Animus! Hey everyone, I'm Ed Rodriguez, creator of the Animus draft building card game, and welcome to the deep dive of Core Set 3 Fallen Order. And this is a core set that I'm most excited to present to you. Although I'm very proud of all the ones that I've made, this one in particular holds a special place to me. Before I go further, this is part of a series of deep dives that I've been doing. They're basically long form videos where I'm going to be talking about the cards in this set. We're going to talk about the art, how I designed the characters, some of the game mechanics, the lore, just a little bit of everything. We're going to kind of take our time with this, and I'm treating it as sort of a fireside chat and also a Q&A session with you, and just to give you my thoughts and insights into this set. If you've missed them, there's other deep dives and other videos about the Animus draft building card game, and you can go to the Zero Budget Geek YouTube channel and look up the Animus card game playlist, the official Animus card game playlist, and that'll catch you up on all the stuff that's going on here that we've been doing. So Fallen Order, like I said, it's the third core set, and this one focuses on, well, let me back up a little bit. So as we already know, in Animus, the multiverse is fracturing, and powerful beings are vying for control over it. Some of them are trying to save it, some of them are trying to perpetuate it. All of them pretty much are using it in some way for their personal gain. Now, all the other sets, or at least the other core sets, focused on the multiverse, right? You had characters from all different universes kind of mashed in together, and the expansion sets kind of focused a little bit on individual settings and just kind of expose you to that. But the expansion sets, the players don't play as that. Those are just enemies that are coming from that setting to attack you, so you don't really identify with those. In Fallen Order, this is a core set that actually really focuses on one universe in particular and one setting, and this set came at the tail end of many years of game design and character design and art direction that I had with the artist. And so I feel like this is the set that has like the most cohesiveness, the most ideas that I had that were really already working together. And I think that's a little bit hard to explain, but I think you'll see it as we go through them. So what's happening in Fallen Order? So Fallen Order is, I've always been fascinated by the book of Revelations in the Christian Bible. I just find it a fascinating book. And I always wondered, what would the biblical apocalypse look like if it happened in the modern day world? And originally, many years ago, I wanted to actually write a novel based on this idea. And I eventually learned I'm not a writer, at least not a very good one, and certainly not one that's good enough to write an entire novel. But I always was fascinated with the idea of what would this look like, and how would I make it, kind of fantastical and just kind of cool. And when I was working on Animus, I said, hey, well, you know what? I could just use that setting I wanted to use for my book in Animus, and I found that easier to do than try to write a novel. So this is Fallen Order. So what's happening as the multiverse has been fracturing? That ruptured has actually, and at least in one universe, triggered what they think is the biblical apocalypse, right? The four horsemen of the apocalypse, basically they come right forth because something's happening, and they assume, hey, it's time to go, it's go time. So they ride forth to basically do their jobs, which is to bring about the end of the world of here, and it's focusing on Earth. Whereas many of the other sets focus on different universes, different planets and stuff like that, Fallen Order is on Earth. It's the apocalypse happening on Earth. So let's go to our next picture here, so you're not staring at the same thing each time. And I'm on the wrong screen here. All right, so what is happening in Fallen Order is because the multiverse has fractured, the barrier between Earth, heaven, and hell is basically gone, as it's gone for many separations of different universes, and that means the celestial beings of heaven, or I believe in here we call it Elysium, and the demonic forces in hell, also called the abyss, are free to come out of their realms. And again, they're all on the assumption like this is it, this is the time for the final battle, the final apocalypse, and they're riding forth to battle for the souls of human beings on Earth. And so that leads to a big cataclysm of angels and demons fighting on Earth over humans. You're gonna notice many themes, cohesive themes in this set. Well, obviously there's gonna be a lot of angels, there's gonna be a lot of demons, and then there's gonna be humans that are caught in the middle of this conflict. Now, because of as we learned in all the way back in Vanishing Point, when this rupture happened in the multiverse, a immense wave of energy went out and it infused beings with just cosmic power. So even normal beings are much stronger than normal, and so we're gonna see human characters in here that have been imbued with some of this power, and now they're able to, you know, at least fight back against the demons that are trying to kill them. So in the set, basically the demons are the bad guys. They're just trying to kill humans and collect their souls. The humans are just trying to survive, and the angels kind of don't really care about the humans. They're all about demon slaying. That is what they were created for. I mean, they have other purposes, but these are not necessarily these sort of outright benevolent angels that we've seen. These are hardened warriors that their whole goal is to fight evil, represented by the demons. So let's jump into we're gonna jump into the entities as we've been doing. So we're gonna start off with the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse. And the first one we have here is Pestilence, the Herald of Ruination. The Herald of Ruination paves the road to the apocalypse with virulent plagues and ravaging scourge. So we do have the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse, and as you've seen in the other sets that I've done, I try to reinvent these characters, or at least portray them in a way that isn't common. So the horsemen of the apocalypse, we've always envisioned them as these, you know, fantastical riders on some kind of mounted beast that they're mounting. In here I thought about, well, what if I went literal and made them horsemen, right? Kind of like centaurs. And so that's what you're gonna see with the horsemen. And instead of calling them horsemen, I called them heralds. So they're heralds of something, because I'm depicting them as not all being male. They're split. There's 2 male and there's 2 female ones, and so I didn't want to call them horsemen. I just went with the idea of just calling them the heralds. They're the heralds of the apocalypse is what they are. So here we have Pestilence, and this one here, as you can see by the art, it's a little bit inspired. The mask here is supposed to be a little bit like a plague doctor, and he's supposed to represent, you know, disease and decay. So disease with the green skin, and just like, you know, all kinds of like just detritus around. And by the way, Neil Che did just an amazing job on this set, and just I had such a fantastic time working with him, because he is so good at these creature designs. In fact, that's why I reached out to him to do this set. And while we're on the subject of the art, one thing that we wanted to do with this set, I wanted to have so in Shattered Fantasy, we were trying to do a sort of dark cartoonish style, and here we're doing a style that is supposed to be harkening back to horror comics that I used to read back in the 80s. As a teenager, I used to get these horror comic books, and they had just these gritty artwork with just a lot of gruesome imagery, and so I wanted to sort of just pay homage to that with this. So anyway, back to Pestilence. We got this cool photo here of this sort of decaying, disease-ridden rider, and its ability is ongoing. All your cards deal 1 extra damage in combat if the combat totals are equal. So whenever your cards have a tie in combat, they deal damage. So they do take damage as normal. It doesn't prevent that, but you just come out ahead on that. And that's just to sort of represent, again, many times in the game, most times when I look at ties as the characters are coming in close proximity of each other, or they're locking up in battle. And so in here, let me move my mouse, in here the characters are getting close, but they have disease, right? The ones being controlled by the pestilence, they're disease ridden, and so they're spreading that disease to the other character, hence the damage that they're doing. And how would you use this in combat? Well, it's kind of luck based. It's just, do you get a tie? If you're just playing with the normal rules with the dice, you're at the mercy of the dice if that happens. However, if you're playing with the Fractured Echoes dice decks, the add-on that you can buy for the game, that set makes ties happen a little bit more often, and there's actually a card in there that can ensure ties, and so you would want to use that for this. That would make using this entity much better. But overall, most games you're gonna get to fire off this ability 2 or 3 times, and that's usually the average. So there's no special strategy here, other than you probably want to get ties. Maybe you want cards that you can go either way with the damage race, right? You can either have more cards with healing, so that your cards are not only dealing more damage, they're taking less. Or you can go the other way, lean into a heavy damage strategy and just add cards that deal damage to the opponent, and plus your extra damage here, you'll rack up some kills in no time. And really, when you're playing as this character or against this character, you really want to pay attention to type advantages. That's gonna change the odds whether you're getting ties or not, more or less. So anyway, that's a lot of talking on this Pestilence. Let's move on to the next character. And I imagine this video is actually going to be long, because there's going to be a lot to talk about in this set. And I have my drink here. Yeah, next we have War, the Herald of Destruction. One of the 4 heralds of the apocalypse, she is tasked with bringing about destruction and strife around the world. The heralds paved the way for the creation of a new paradigm. So I think actually that flavor text there was probably one of the first ones that I wrote for this set, because it's kind of introducing the heralds. And as we can see, this herald is, we wanted to make her look female, and she's leading in. And this one here, you can really get a good look at that centaur design of the body. And yeah, I wanted to have this character look like just a flaming being of just outright wrath coming in to start war and strife. Also, side note, the heralds, one of the themes we had with them in their design, or their art design, the art direction, we wanted them to represent the 4 seasons. So going back to Pestilence represents spring. I know it's decay and disease, but it's the color scheme is representing spring. Why did I say that weird? Herald here is summer, the fiery red summer. And what's its ability? Ongoing. Your card in melee position requires 1 extra damage token to be killed while it remains in melee position. Right? So this war is all about running up to the opponent and just smashing him in the face. And this ensures that your card in melee position can stay up front and deal damage. And there's not much more complication to that. Just keep your best card up in melee, and if you have ways to heal it or remove damage from it, damage shifting damage off of it, it'll stay out there. And so here you want to draft a couple really good, powerful melee type cards. will go a long way here, especially ones that are normally already tough to kill. This will make it even tougher. And as usual, if you're playing against this, you want to just sort of focus down their melee position and take it out as fast as possible, because she's gonna make it, uh, if you don't, you're gonna be in for a world of hurt. So that is War, the Herald of Destruction. Next we have Famine. This one represents fall, the herald of misery. As he rides across the world, crops and livestock wither and perish as the herald of misery inaugurates the apocalypse. Here we're back. We have another female character, and I'm not even sure what inspired all of. I'm trying to go off of memory here. Why I had these sort of mummy type wrappings. I think I wanted to represent the character as being almost like a mummy, like undead sort of figure. And these weapons here are a type of sickle that I looked up, and they're basically harvesting tools, and so I thought that would make for a great weapon to have on this character. Again, I'll also remind you, as we zoom in, you can see that the character is has all these veins here. They're basically emaciated. It's supposed to be. They're kind of emaciated and a little bit desiccated. And her ability is ongoing. Your cards require 1 extra damage token to be killed, but receive 1 extra damage token from sources other than standard combat rolls. So with this ability, I went with the sort of just the old saying of feast or famine. And so your cards are actually beefy, and that kind of almost doesn't make sense that this is a famine character, but your cards start off beefy, but if they take any kind of extra damage from some other source, they'll take double, and so if you're facing that kind of damage, you'll die pretty quickly. So if you're playing as this character, your strategy is going to start in the draft. You're going to want to make sure that you don't let your opponent draft, if you can, let your opponent draft cards that deal damage. You want to take those for yourself. Otherwise, you want to get some, maybe some good healing cards. So in case you take some extra damage and survive, you can heal some of that off. But no big strategy here. Just you have beefy cards, and just beware of the direct damage that can come your way. And that is Famine. And then we have the last horse or herald of the apocalypse, and it's Death, just plain and simple, the Herald of Extinction. Ushering in the apocalypse, the Herald of Extinction presides over the final judgment of mankind. His task is to eliminate the last vestiges of life from the remaining world. So he's here to basically end it all. And as you can tell by the theme of the card, this is the winter card, right? This is the season where things are dead and dying. And I believe this weapon here is a Kopesh, and I don't remember why I selected that. I know I didn't want to do the usual scythe that you see Death wielding. I wanted to do something a little bit different, but had sort of a similar shape, and I found these Kopesh. I believe it's a Kopesh. And so we went with this design here, and Neil did just an amazing job with this. I can't remember if that was Neil's idea to sort of do this eye patch thing to him. I think it was. I don't think that I came up with that, but yeah, just an amazing sort of creature design that he came up with for Death. The another thing I wanted to do with the heralds, by the way, is I wanted them to feel like real and not feel like they're these spectral spirits. Like they're like, kind of, you can reach out and touch these things. They're real here. All right, let's go into the ability here. So, and it ties into the extinction part. Tactical, once per game, and as we know, anything that's once per game is usually considered quite powerful. Ban any one card in any discard, or select an opponent's card and one of your cards in play, and ban both. So this means you get to use one of those two abilities once per game. Well, the first one's pretty simple. Ban any one card in any discard. And most of the time you will probably use this on your own discard, because by banning a card in your discard, that's going to reduce your total animus level, so it makes it harder for you to um, lose the game. But you could possibly may want to do this to the opponent, because Fallen Order introduces a mechanic called Haunt, where cards in your discard pile will have an ability they can trigger even though they're dead and they're in the discard, right? They're haunting the game. If there's one that's particularly problematic for you, you can use death to get rid of it. But that's a very niche use case. So that's why I gave death another ability where you can, and this one you can use this in any game even if there's no haunt cards. Select an opponent's card and one of your cards in play and ban both. Originally I had the idea of just outright having it kill a character, but it felt too easy to just outright kill a character. It would mean that you could be on the really close to winning and then just end the game right away, and I never liked that. That was kind of a feels bad situation. So by banning it, cards that get banned don't count. You don't count the points on them, the animus levels. You don't count them. So this is more about just getting a problematic card out of the way, and the cost of it is that you got to do one of your cards as well. And it's as simple as that. So really that's the use case. Just a card that you're having a hard time defeating from your opponent, just ban it with this, and you'll be able to handle the other stuff. But most often I see people use this to just ban a card in their own discard, just to just to try to win the points race. And it's kind of as simple as that with death. When you're playing against this, there's not much you can do. You can't really stop this effect. So you're at the mercy of the player making a good choice. I mean, I guess you could bait the other player by having a card that's problematic against them while you hold back something even better in your hand. But that's more in high level mind games play. All right, we're moving on to Wormwood. Okay, so this is really interesting. Let me read out the card. Wormwood, the falling star, destroyer of physical worlds. He arrives to sweep away the current state of being on planets and clear the way for a new age. His appearance spells the end of life as you know it. So in the book of Revelations, there is a passage where you can see a falling star coming from the sky, and it brings all sorts of ruination, right? It's kind of like the first big strike of the apocalypse. And in Revelations, it is named. It is given a name. It's given the name Wormwood. And first of all, I just thought the Wormwood name was just kind of cool. I don't know. It's just a cool sounding name, and I wanted to use it in the game. And I said, what if it was like a comet that was coming, or not a comet, but well, you could say a comet or meteor, asteroid, just basically a big rock that was coming, right? Because as we know, one of those large enough is an extinction level event. So that's what I interpret it as, that it's basically like a giant asteroid and or comet. And I said, what if it was like a living being? It actually has humanoid form, or than when you see it from far away, it just looks like a meteor. But when you look up close, you can see it as a being, and that's what we went with here. And this was probably the most challenging illustration in this set, was how to depict this. And I think again Neil just did a great job making it look somewhat humanoid, but at the same time very alien looking. And as what it is, it's just a big rock coming into the atmosphere. We pay careful attention here. I wanted for you to be able to see the burn up as it's entering the atmosphere. A couple little details there that we did. I love being able to zoom in, because sometimes on the printed cards you can't really see all of these details. And what's his ability here? Tactical. Once per game, Return all cards in play on this battlefield to their controller's hands, or damage all cards on this battlefield. So both of those abilities are really good abilities, and they have a wide-ranging effect on the battlefield, but it's once per game. And strangely enough, although they're both strong, I didn't feel like either one on its own was good enough to be the sole ability of the character, because I wanted the effect to be tap into both players, right? It is just an indiscriminate monster that just comes slamming down. So I made it again a dual use, or a two abilities in one, where you pick one. A modal, that's the word I'm saying. A modal card where you can kind of pick what it does, and you can pick one of these two events depending on what's better for you in this situation. Most of the time I've noticed people taking the dealing all damage just to try to end the game quicker, but bringing all cards back from your battle back into your hand is quite good. If you think you might go that route, you probably want to stock up on a lot of cards with play effects. That would be a way to get them back and then reuse those effects. And again, cards with play effects, the power level of the play effect is under the assumption that you only get to play that card once. And so potentially this is a way to play very powerful effects multiple times. You can go the other way and have cards that have a lot of death effects or benefit from things dying, and then use the damage effect and sort of reap the rewards that way. So there's sort of a couple different strategies that you can do with Wormwood here. And I'm not sure there's a whole lot more to say about this character. It's less of a character as like the others in the lore here. It's just a being that comes down. It does its devastation once and then it leaves, essentially, whereas the others, like the heralds, would ride around, causing strife, spreading disease, extinguishing life around the world. This guy is just he just comes in, hits hard once, and then takes off. And that's why I designed the ability the way it is. And then we go to our final entity, and this is Jezebeth, the living corruption. Now this character is not in Revelation. This one here is very much a character that I just made on my own, because the other heralds are not good guys or bad guys. They're neutral, actually, as is Wormwood. All 5 of those are just neutral characters. They're doing the job now. They're doing horrible things, killing stuff and all that, and wrecking, destruction upon the earth. But that's what they're created for. That is, they're serving their purpose. And so I wanted to have a character that was like a true villain in the set, that wasn't just the demons, right? The demons are already the bad guys. I wanted to do something a little bit different. And I came up with Jezebeth here, which is a play on the name Jezebel, as we've seen in history. So what is her story here, or her lore? The temptress of ancient Babylon, she corrupts the hearts, minds, and bodies of all around her. She uses people up like playthings, then discards their useless husks when she is done. So she's basically an ancient being from ancient Babylonian times, and she was like sealed away basically for eternity. But with she couldn't be killed. She's like an immortal evil being. She couldn't be killed, so she was sealed away. But now that the apocalypse is happening and everything's in chaos and so much destruction is happening, she's been released, and now she is back on the world, and she wants to control the hearts and minds of everyone. So unlike the demons, where the demons want to kill things and collect their souls, she just wants control over them physically, their minds, their hearts, and their physical presence. So we designed her as she's basically like a fungal creature, a fungal queen. You can see she's sort of has this mushroom head. You can see the frills of the mushroom thing, and these are the I forget what these are called, but they're like fungal tendrils, and she's releasing all these spores, and then those spores go around and infect people around her, and fungus grows on them and they become under her control. We were also inspired by the cordyceps fungus, and that's where these tendrils come. So have you ever seen pictures of the cordyceps fungus? That's a fungus that actually infects insects, species of insects, and they get mind controlled by this fungus. So that's what this character was designed around, and that's why you see the spores here, and then these are beings in her thrall. And what's her ability? Reaction: once per game, when a card not owned by you is killed, you may put it into your hand. If that card is killed again, it will go back into its original owner's discard. So this is the not quite only, this is I think one of the only 2 cards in the game that actually can change ownership of cards. And ownership of cards just means who controls that card in a given game, not who bought the game. And so here, when you kill one of your opponent's cards, you can basically mind control it and take it. And you get to put it into your hand, which means that when you play it, you're gonna play it fresh. So if it has a play effect, you're gonna get to use that. It has its full health, everything. It's as of yours. And then the funny, and then I find this humorous, is that when they eventually kill it, they get it back, and they're gonna get the bad points associated with it. Now that is a very powerful ability, essentially stealing a card from another player. So there's a couple drawbacks. Well, one, by killing them and then taking them, you're not getting the points for them, at least right away, and you may never get the points. If you get it back and you play it and then they never kill it, you never got those points even though you spent that time killing it. So that's sort of a cost in itself. And another cost is you had to kill it in the first place. All right, so this card's ability is quite powerful, but definitely involves a lot of investment. You probably definitely want to include a lot of some good damage shifting and or direct damage in your deck, so you can ensure that you kill the exact thing that you want and then take it over. And really that's it. Your opponent really can't do much about it other than, again, try to bait her out with putting out something that they think they might want to corrupt, but then you play something that's good against that afterwards. But anyway, that's Jezebeth. That's the again, not a tremendous amount of story other than she's kind of the bad guy of the set, and eventually in the lore, once the characters in the story, the heralds realized that they were not supposed to be doing the apocalypse, it's actually not the time for the apocalypse. They realize that Jezebeth alone is actually a bigger threat, because now that the multiverse fraction and she's gotten some Animus energy, she's actually more powerful than she was originally, and so she sort of rises up to be the big bad of this set, and then the other entities have to actually band together against her, and that is her. And I think we're going to the cards now. So our first card here is a demon. I meant to bring up the picture, but I don't have it. So another theme in the set are the 7 virtues and the 7 sins. And not all the cards, but 7 of the angels that you're gonna see are the virtues, 7 of the demons are the sins, and then the 7 of the human characters you're gonna see are gonna be represented, they are stuck in between both of those two things. And in the story, they are more guilty of their sin, but they're trying to reach their road of redemption and get to their virtue, if that makes any sense, and I'll explain it more when we get to those characters. But anyway, we have our first demon here, Abaddon. Abaddon the Destroyer commands legions of demons in an onslaught of death and destruction. During combat, this card gains +1 to its rolls for each damage token on the card it is fighting. So this guy is based off of Wrath, I believe. He is the demon of just strife and anger, and he's represented by just having all kinds of horns and protrusions. Even on his knuckles here, you can't really see him good, but these are actually points that are coming towards you, bony protrusions. And even on his legs here, you can see them, and coming off of his body, he's just yeah. And he's kind of got like a minotaur look. I believe this look was an original design by Neo Che that we incorporated into the Animus set. So I didn't really come up with this look here. Neo definitely did this one here. And his ability is ongoing. During combat, this card gains +1 to its rolls for each damage token on the card it is fighting. So that is quite powerful, and that's why this guy's a level 3. If your cards have damage on them, he's gonna get a buff, and so he can be as high as basically a 6 in melee, and that can be very tough to deal with. He does have a low flank stat, but if he's getting a bonus, he's still gonna be tough to think. So here we have a guy that can be a good upfront melee fighter for you if you're using Famine. And yeah, that's what you want to do, is have him up there and keep him topped up, and he can deal some serious damage on the opponent. And obviously, as the opponent, you want to just focus this guy down and kill him, because he is definitely even though his ability is quite simple, he can be real pain in the ass, and I would consider this guy a priority target and try to get rid of this guy as soon as possible. Next we have Apollyon. So this one, in the depths of the abyss, she burns the souls of heretics and blasphemers for all eternity. So this was actually another demon. So this is like a flame demon, although you would think demons are flame. They are not. Just because we envision hell as the place of fire and burning, they're not all flame creatures. But this one here is actually a flame demon, and that's her job. She punishes souls by burning them. Combat: select any card in play and add +1 to all its rolls until the end of the turn. So as a combat ability, this takes the place of her attack. So this means that and this is why it's a level 1. Like, you can put this card out in support position, and it'll help your cards that are in combat. Or if it's more beneficial to you, you can have this card out in on the field up front battling. And so this is a card that's just kind of just designed to be good in either case. Or even if you do not have, like, because of her type, if you do not have an advantageous position to put her into battle, you can kind of move her away and she can still contribute. And really, that's all that is to Apollyon. All right, we have Arario, one of our first angels. Arario, angel of the hunt, specializes in killing demons no matter where or how they hide. This angel here is not one of the 7 virtues, I believe. But I definitely wanted to. So one thing you're gonna notice about the angels is that the angels are very much are being depicted as warriors. Sorry, I'm thirsty. The angels are depicted as warriors that are fighting demons all the time. And actually, I think I misspoke because I always forget. Apollyon here, I said was a demon, but actually I think this one I always forget. I have to go back and look my notes. I think she's actually an angel, and you can tell that by her because she is wearing armor. I believe most of the demons do not wear armors. They're depicted as more like beasts, and the angels are more humanoid with armor. So she's a angel, but she is a flame angel that goes down into the abyss to burn Yeah, to punish bad guys. So I misspoke on that. I said she was a demon. She is not a demon. She's actually a flame angel, but she goes down into the depths of the abyss to do her job, whereas the other angels stay up in the celestial realm. Araria here, she is a demon hunter, and she hunts him down. I wanted to base her look was supposed to be sort of like an owl slash bird of prey kind of thing, and so we made her weapons these sort of claw hands, these claw gauntlets, and she flies down, she swoops in basically to just slash and tear apart demons. And her ability is ongoing. The effect text of cards in combat with this card is negated until after the combat phase ends. So this ability, although she's a level 3, can potentially be a hit or miss ability for you. It really depends on what your opponent has, but essentially it just makes it so that your opponent's card doesn't have a text. So this is particularly good at defeating cards with ongoing effects, especially effects that affect battle. If a card has a death effect and she kills it, the death effect won't happen. What else? Any kind of reactions, things like that. So she can shut down certain abilities, but it's also possible that your opponent may not have relevant abilities that will, it may not matter if they get negated. Like again, if she's battling a card with a play effect, it doesn't matter, the play effect already happened. There's not, this doesn't counter everything, but it does counter a lot of things, and so it can be kind of situational if this is really good or just mediocre for you. So I wouldn't plan a whole lot of strategy around this card, other than you're mostly picking this card because of its typing and its stats, and that is Arario. Here we have another angel, Ariel. This one is one of the ones that is not one of the virtues. When things are at their darkest hour, this angel can be counted on to swoop in with the light of hope. I'm trying to remember what the design of this was. One thing you're also going to notice is that most of the angels, in fact, I believe all the angels, except Papalion here, we wanted to dehumanize the angels a little bit. We wanted them to look human, but most of them, if not all of them, we gave these visors to sort of hide their eyes, right, and make them look less human. With Apollyon, we didn't hide the eyes, but we made them pupilless, just to kind of just sort of dehumanize her, make sure that this is not just a human with wings. And that's what we did here with Ariel here. Although Neil put this, I don't remember why we came up with this, but we put this glowing light here. I think it's just going into the idea of that she is the light of hope. And I wanted to do a angel with a flail here. And just Neil made this cool thing. One thing one of the directives that I gave to Neil when we were doing the art was, no card should look clean. Every card, including the angels, should look grimy and dirty in some way, or at least bloody, because they are in a battle for their life. And we went with this pink and white motif for this card. And this card's ability is reaction. When this card performs a switch, you may heal the card it switched with. So this is a healing card, but it does that as it's battling, right? You're putting it in play. It's actively fighting and switching around, and it can heal your cards. And that's why its stats are a 3/3. It's a 3/3, which means it usually can battle pretty good in whatever position it's gonna be in, and that's good because you want to be actively switching your cards and play around a lot, so you can benefit from this healing ability. That is a drawback, because it does mean that you're moving your cards around, and you want to be careful that you're not putting them in bad combat positions that may negate your healing. So you want to be a little careful with this card, but overall, this is often, for me at least, a high pick. I usually really got to consider really well picking anything else other than this, because repeatable healing is always good. Next, we have Azazel. Azazel, the accursed, fell out of the angelic order for refusing to bow down before mankind. So this is the sin of envy. This is the envy demon, and this creature design was one that Neil had, but I picked for this. Basically, he's two-faced. is the idea here? He's a two-faced with jealousy. I don't think that's the right saying, but yeah, it's just a two-headed demon here. And his ability is haunt. So here we have our first haunt card, and haunt means that once per turn you can use this effect as long as it's in your discard pile during your tactical phase. Select any card in play. It has +1 to its rolls until the end of the turn. So basically, once per turn you're gonna buff one of your cards, and is thematically supposed to represent the dual nature of this guy. So one use is he's in play doing his stuff, and then later on so when you have him play, he's being offensive and attacking, and then when he dies, he's doing the opposite. He's being helpful and helping out your team. And that's Azazel. We go to Azrael. And this is once charged with a decree of execution, this angel of death cannot be bargained or reasoned with. This guy here in the lore, if we go back all the way to Vanishing Point, I have written down in the lore that the way she became the death, right? Because I mentioned in the deep dive video, she was not the original death. There was another death before her. That was Azrael, which is different from the Herald of Extinction death. That's a separate being. We're not gonna go into the semantics of it. There is sort of a angel of death, and then there's the Herald of Extinction, which is kind of like on a higher level idea. It's not just death. That guy is like extinction. So in Lilith's lore, Azrael was the angel of death that she actually defeated and then became the new Reaper of Souls. This guy is a good guy though, despite his look here. One thing, we got the visor as we're trying to do with the angels. And I remember telling Neil, I want this artwork for this particular character to look like the cover of like a heavy metal album. I think he did a good job, especially with the black wings here, which we usually don't do black wings on the angel, but some of the darker angels do have that here. And what's his ability? Haunt, another haunt card. If any of your cards were killed this turn, damage shift. So this guy will give you an ability that we saw on the entity Justice in Vanishing Point set. Now you get this as a character, but it must die before you get this effect. So yeah, he's a good character to have in play. You generally don't want him to die because he's worth 3 points, but if he does, he's gonna give you a pretty good ability to slow down the death of your other cards. But you can use that effect on your opponent too. It's a straight damage shift, so that means you can use it on any player. So when he dies, he kind of becomes, you know, almost a bit more, well, he does become more powerful. And the virtue this guy signifies is I'm drawing a blank at the moment, is duty. All right, he is he's all about being his job is death, and that is what he's going to do, and he's not going to be dissuaded from that. So his virtue is duty and dedication. I believe that's what I wrote down. I forgot to bring up I had a graphic for this and forgot to get it ready here. Next we have Beelzebub. The Lord of Avarice can always find a way to tempt any mortals. Deals with him always backfire. This is the demon of the sin greed, and he has 2 abilities here. Play, you may damage an opponent's card. All right, so you get some free damage. But when he dies, death, heal an opponent's card. So he gives the damage, but then he takes it back when he dies. And Yeah, we wanted to make it look like an aristocratic demon, and he's got, bags of money and money around. He promises riches and fortune for you, but again, that can backfire. But yeah, play this card, deal damage, and then keep this guy from dying, and you won't have to pay the tax on it. That is Beelzebub. We got Cassiel here. This is just an angel that this is not one of the virtues. She strikes down with great vengeance and furious anger the wicked who inflict evil upon the world. Really, I just wanted to do an angel that was a ninja, is what we did here. And we just picked a pair of sharp sais for, although sais generally aren't sharp, they're actually a blunt instrument, at least the ones that I've seen. Hers are sharpened and she uses it to kill. So she's basically like an angel, but it's more like a ninja assassin type. And her ability is reaction. If this card receives damage, you may reset it. So she sort of does that ninja smoke poof, or more like I don't know what it's called, but I've seen an anime where ninja characters get struck by something and you see them get hit and then you blink and they're not there anymore, and it's like a block of wood. You hit something else, and that's basically what she does here. You deal the damage to her, you dealt the damage, and then you get to reset her, and when cards get reset, the damage goes away. But you do lose her for a time until you can get her back. A very good card, although your opponent may not go after her much because she's only worth 1 point. But it's a good way to absorb damage. And a neat thing you can do with this card is that if your opponent, especially when you're playing against the nemesis, when you're playing solo or cooperative, they often do effects that let you pick a card to take damage. You can voluntarily just put the damage on her and then she resets, and it's a way to sort of negate some damage. Like any cards that interact with the deck, though, once your deck runs out, you won't be able to do this anymore, and so there is a limit to how often this can be done. But otherwise, a useful card. You want to make sure that you have a way to cycle through your deck kind of quickly to take advantage of this. So any entities or card effects that let you reset more often or draw cards will be very good. Next we have Crocella, and this is the demon of sloth or laziness. Crocella the Languid, a nasty and lazy demon who has a disgusting habit of flinging corpses in battle. Yeah, again, another original Neo-Che design. What more else to say? Just a disgusting slug-like looking creature. And her ability is Haunt. If any of your cards were killed this turn, damage any undamaged card. So if your cards die, she basically tosses the corpse of them at the opponent. Repeatable damage in this game as a game mechanic is dangerous. I always need to make sure that there is some kind of limiting factor to here. So in here, she can only damage something that isn't damaged already. Because this is only a level 1 card, we didn't want it to be too powerful. And as a haunt effect, it's quite difficult for your opponent to counter this in any way. So the drawback is that it only damages things that aren't damaged already. And really that's it to that character. Just a slug-like demon, but this one is one of the 7 sins. We have Dagon here. This slobbering demon devours everything in his path. His stench causes foliage to wilt and die. And this is a sin demon. He is the sin of gluttony or overindulgence, and as you can see, he is just a big gigantic mouth, and he is eating people. He's eating souls. Can we zoom in more? I'm like, there's actual, you missed this on the card, but there are, as you can see, Neil just went all the way as we wanted to horror with this set. There are skeletons and things being devoured by this guy here. And his ability, he's another haunt card. If any of your cards were killed this turn, heal any card. So basically, while he's in your discard pile, consider that that's kind of like your graveyard. Your cards are dead there, but he's feeding off of them. So anytime your cards die afterwards, they kind of fall down into his mouth and he eats them, and then your other cards heal off of it. That's basically him there in a nutshell. Like many haunt cards, you actually want to keep them in play as long as possible. You don't actually really want them to die fast. It really depends. It's a very situational card. All the haunt cards are. They're actually kind of difficult to play because you gotta weigh the fact: are they better in play for you, or are they better dead? Because you can't get both things. And depending on your setup, this could be actually quite powerful for you. Alright, that is Dagon. I'm gonna try to move a little quicker here. Dane Williams here. Is this our first human here? Prideful and headstrong, he must overcome his selfishness to help the survivors of the apocalypse. So this guy here is a martial arts champion. He's like a what is that? Mixed martial arts champion guy, but very prideful, right? He's a champion. He's like, I'm the champ, right? He's boastful and very prideful, and that is his sin. He is the sin of pride, but he needs to learn to overcome that. And like it says in his flavor text here, let go of his pride and be a leader in a good way, not just be boastful and say he's the best, but prove it by, you know, being a true leader with compassion for other people. And that's reflected in his ability here. Reaction: once per turn, and if any of your cards is killed, this card may immediately make a melee attack with advantage on its killer, rolling no more than 2 dice. So when your cards get killed, he jumps in to sort of take revenge on them, right? He is a really good fighter, and he's actually, in the novel, he was actually gonna be one of the main characters. In fact, probably the main character that you follow most often. As we'll revisit that, but I lost my train of thought there. Yeah, he's just a prideful guy that needs to learn a little bit humility and realize that he can't do everything by himself. He needs to work with other people, but that's kind of hard to do when other people hate you, and so he has to kind of overcome that and just become a better person in the story wise. In the gameplay wise, man, he's just a good melee attacker that he doesn't really protect your other cards, but he will get revenge for them. And he will also cause your opponent to kind of think twice on whether they want to kill your other cards before killing him. So often your opponent may want to just kill this guy first before going after the other cards, and in a sense that's a way of like protecting your other cards, because your opponent's spending time attacking him rather than your other ones. And that is Dane Williams. We have Derdekia here. This is the angel of chastity. Right? She is one of the virtues. Derdekia, the protector, also known as Drop, was the first angel to descend to earth for mankind's sake. A lot of the angels and demons, not all of them, but a lot of them were from research that I did on different depictions of angels across different religious texts that I found. And I found this interesting story of an angel called Derdekia, which was one of the first angels to, like, on its own visit humans. Many of the others angels usually came basically at a direction of God for a specific purpose, and go tell this person this thing or give this person a hint for something else. But Derdekia here was one that on her own kind of came down and was basically like one of the first guardian angels to kind of on its own be a protector of humans, and that's reflected in its ability here. Play and death. So when this card gets played and when it dies, you may heal any card. Pretty simple. You get 2 healing effects out of this card, one when it comes in and one on its way out. By the art here, It's a nun. It's a nun, an angel that's a nun. Again, like the other angels, we have its eyes covered, and it is a warrior, so it is bloody and damaged. And in the artwork, to show off that it's a protector, we had it with a shield and a door in the background here. And the door was important because, right, a door is like an entryway, or you can look at it as an exit, but I think a lot of times you can think of it as an entryway, and she's blocking the door, right? She is protecting the people inside, or the things inside. She's in between you and your goal if you're a bad guy, basically. And that was all to serve the idea of that she's a protector. And that's their deck here. I need another drink here. We got Ivani Jinder here. Before the apocalypse, her shallow life was being in vogue, but she learns that life is more than trends. So here we have this another character. She's one of the sins, and she is the sin of envy, right? Because she's always all about keeping up with the looks of other people. If somebody has something fancy, she needs to have that fancy thing, right? To just sort of keep up looks, you know. And so that's why the look of this character, and I apologize if it's a little stereotypical, but I remember looking up the character, and at the time that I was looking up the character, I was looking up a wardrobe for this character, what she would wear, and I found a lot of images of women with the ripped up jeans. I forget what it's called, distressed jeans, crop tops, and like these cardigan sweaters. And often holding some kind of coffee that they got there, some kind of latte. And so that's sort of how I came across or came up with the wardrobe of this character. It was actually very specifically chosen. In fact, these jeans I think here were ones that I actually found a picture of, and I sent that to Neo and said I wanted to have this. I think almost this entire outfit, I sent pictures to Neo and said this is what the character should be wearing to represent. She's just trying to be in style. She's a stylish character. And at the time we created this, this was a style. I don't know if it is anymore. And she's holding a Starbucks just to kind of show that, you know, I don't know, is that really a symbol of someone being shallow? I don't think it really is, but I think when you take a sort of stereotypical character as a whole, you know, someone that's in vogue, you know, they got whatever the latte that's in season, they gotta have it. That's what that's supposed to be here. But she has that in one hand, and in the other hand she has a gun. And this is kind of to show the dual nature of the card, because although she is guilty of envy, right, or she's trying to be like or equal to other people because, you know, she doesn't want them to be better than her, she is also to learning overcome that and be her own fighter for herself and her own individual, and not just be, you know, floating around life, you know, just taking in things. You know, now she must fight and fend for herself. Another thing that we're gonna see in here is we see what look like zombies in the background, and I think this is the first card we see this. So in this biblical apocalypse, it's also a zombie apocalypse. The dead are rising from the grave. Now in the book of Revelations there is talk about that the dead rise from the grave, and I wanted to do zombies in Animus, so we did zombies, but we did what I think is a unique take. These zombies are not a virus. What they are is there are some demons. Now we've seen some demons already that have these impressive forms. There's some demons that are very weak and minor, and they only exist as spirits. But now that the multiverse is fractured, they still cannot manifest a physical form, but they can inhabit dead things and sort of reanimate them or animate the dead and go that way. And all the demons are all about despoiling humans, killing them. All right, humans are supposed to be God's special creatures, so they're all about defiling that. So that's why the demons here go after humans to try to kill them and rip them apart, because they are basically minor demons that are in them. And so here's our first look at them, but we're gonna see more. And went a lot on that, because I wanted to get across that there was actually a lot of thought. This character, I remember taking a lot of time in coming up with the look of it. A lot of it was very, very specific. All right, what's your ability? Ongoing. This card effects can't place damage tokens on this card. This card can only be assigned damage from combat or entities. And this is to represent that, again, she's learning to stand on her own and be her own person and not be like everyone else. And yeah, so this card can sort of be a double-edged sword because no, I'm thinking of a different card. Sorry. Yeah, this card is great if your opponent has damaging effects, direct damage. She basically can dodge those, as shown by her card art. She's running away from danger. No special strategy with this card. It's just a nice effect that's there. Most of the time, you're picking this card mainly for its stats. But enough about Ivani. If you have any more questions about the character, you can go ahead and ask down below. Gabrielle, this is the angel of, oh, can't remember now, valor, justice. Since the beginning of time, she has been counted on to mete out justice and retribution against evil. So Gabrielle is one of the main angels. Like, the angels have a hierarchy, and there are some that are archangels. She is an archangel. She is one of the original angels. Like, if you ever hear of any that are like in biblical stories, she's one of them. She's actually named. She's one of the few. I think there's only 2 angels that are actually named in the actual Christian Bible, and Gabriel is one of them. And we just wanted to give her a look of a badass Templar knight, right? And like, and she fights demons, and like any being that fights demons, she is bloody. She's battle damaged because she's fighting horrible creatures. But let me tell you something, this is not her blood. That blood is not hers. She is slaying demons and not even taking their names. Her ability is play and death. You may damage shift. So when you play her, when she dies, she moves around damage. I envisioned her as kind of like a paladin-like character, and paladins, I think of them as they are great fighters, but they are also compassionate healers, and that's what her ability represents. Because damage shifting, you can use that offensively to move damage on your opponent's side of the board, to kill their cards, or you can use it on your side of the board to keep certain cards protected. And that's Gabrielle there. We got Ian Youngblood here, an apostate seeking redemption. He blasts away demons and draws upon his vast survival experiences. So this guy he's an old dude. Although he's not ancient and decrepit, but he is quite a mature guy, and he's an excommunicated priest that used to be part of the priesthood, but then fell away one day. And the reasons why I won't go into, other than I'll let you know that he does have one of the sins, and his sin is lust, and he needs to learn to lean away from lust towards charity, like Derdekia. All right. And that's all we'll go on with that. Here with this character, I just wanted to do sort of like an older man, Clint Eastwood, Dirty Harry kind of character, where he's an older guy, but he is not a pushover. He's not a powerhouse, right? He's not a big muscular dude, but his vast experiences make up for that. And we see him here, he's just taking on multiple zombies on his own, and he's not even worried because he knows what he's doing, and he's taking them out. All right, he got that one, blew off his head, blew off this guy's head. And that ties into his ability here. Play. Look at the top 3 cards of any deck, put them back in any order. So you're gaining advanced knowledge of your next three cards in your opponent's deck, and you're putting them whatever order you want and sort of dictating the momentum of battle. And even if your opponent is able to like draw extra cards or reset cards and stuff like that, you still have knowledge and you still affected that. And this is one of those cards that I would say is kind of like more an advanced player's card, because you gotta, the information that you gain from this and what you do with this, you need to kind of keep in your head and remember it. And so the better grasp you have of the game and game mechanics and remembering that stuff, the better you will do with this guy. And that's Ian Youngblood there. We got Jimmy Ray Lee. Losing nearly half his body in a mission at war, he lashes out at those close to him and zombies. He hates zombies. This guy is the sin of wrath, or at least he has a sin of wrath, but he must learn to be better at that. He is not, as you're gonna notice, most of the human characters actually start off as not nice people, but over the course of the story, we don't see that here, but in the novel story, they become better people, or at least they're trying to. And so Jimmy Ray here is a guy that was just like angry all the time. He was very hurt in a war and became an alcoholic afterwards and lashed out on alcoholic rages. But he did get involved in some secret government projects where they gave him cybernetics, and so he's got a cybernetic arm. Part of his face here is cybernetic. You can't see it, but like part of his body here also is, and he's got a cybernetic here, like here. So like a big part of his body was like basically blown away at war. But now he's back, and he's using that inner anger that he has, and he's taking it on zombies here. And you can see he's just mowing them down, blowing things up. He's walking away from explosion, jumping away from explosion, and he's throwing a grenade to deal more. And that ties into his ability here. Play. You may select an opponent. If you do, damage all their cards, then sacrifice this card. So yeah, just like you see in the art, he's shooting all the enemies. That represents the damage of all their cards, but he sacrifices himself to do that, right? He blew himself up, and that would have been one of the sort of plot points in the story, is that's sort of his redemption arc. That's his hero's end, is that he becomes instead of worrying about what's making him angry and all that, he's using that in a good way to protect those that he's loved against these evil beings. The usage of this is very simple. Damage your opponent's cards, put them close to death, and then use Jimmy Ray Lee to like just finish them off in one fell swoop. And if you can do that, it's probably worth his sacrifice. So that's Jimmy Ray Lee. We go to Lilith here. What? Didn't we see a card named Lilith before? This is the first and only time in the game that you will see a character's name repeated. Now, I justify it in two different ways. One, this here is a character card. The last time we saw Lilith was an entity, right? They are the same person or same character, but we're seeing them in two different universes. So in one universe, one became the Reaper of Souls, and that happened in Vanishing Point. In the Fallen Order universe, this is an alternate version of Lilith, that she did not become the Reaper of Souls, and she became a demon instead, and she is the demon of lust. And we see in the flavor text here, the demon of perversion. She entices people with their darkest desires and then punish them for it. So she is a succubus. One thing I wanted to do with this character was I did not want to do what people usually think of when they think of a succubus. They think of a sexy demon in a bikini. I did not want to do that. The demons in here are demons. They are scary beings that only care about despoiling you and destroying you. And so I wanted to do a succubus, but in a way that you don't think of, in that she is like scary. You don't want to boink her. She is, you want to run away from this thing. And I think this is probably one of the most horrific cards we did, because as part of the perversion, she is like the perversion to the extreme, kind of like the Hellraiser movies. She is about just body mutilation, and fair warning, we're gonna zoom in here because I want you to see some of the details here. She's got like flayed skin, barbed wire around her body. Her stomach area is just in shreds. She's got a whip made of a spinal cord here, and whips and chains, right, all over the place. And so I wanted to do just a horrific thing that would scare you, that would scare a man if they saw this. They're not gonna get, aroused by this. This is meant to be scary and off-putting, and she's coming for you. What's her ability? Haunt. Damage shift your cards. I don't think this was super thematic to the character. I just needed a card with this ability, and it just seemed to fit. To you can damage some of your cards. Oh, I think that's what the rationale is. When you damage shift, you're moving damage from one card to another. So one card is healing, but another card is taking damage. So it's sort of playing into the, what do you call it? The domination bondage stuff, where one of your cards is being hurt but the other card is being healed and taking pleasure from it. That's where that came from. So that is Lilith. This is the Lilith that, instead of becoming the Reaper of Souls, became a succubus. And Lilith has probably the longest history story of all characters in Animus, and maybe we'll do a video on that someday. Let me know if you want to know about it. Moving on, we got Lucia Archer, a billionaire with a cold heart. She has spent several fortunes preparing to survive the apocalypse. Well, quite simply, she is the sin of greed. She is a person with the sin of greed. She's a rich billionaire that is greedy. And in the story, through her wealth, she was always paranoid about death and dying, and spent a lot of money on basically any kind of divination she could find, and found out that that the writings of like revelations were real, and that this could happen. And so she spent her life and a lot of fortune preparing for that. So in the story, when the apocalypse happens, she's built kind of her own little sanctuary fortress building. She's got a skyscraper that's it's also a fortress to protect against these things, and that becomes her sort of little kingdom during the apocalypse, and she's its queen. And so the other characters, in trying to escape from the demons, find this place and have to make a choice of, do they go in there to be safe but then they'd be under her rule, or do they just stay outside and take their chances. Spoiler alert, this character really does not have much of a redemption. She is greedy and kind of stays that way. She is of the human character, she's basically a villain character in the story. What does it be? Play. Ban a card in any discard. So you take one of your cards. So this is kind of like the death ability, where you can use this in any discard. Most of the time you're going to use it in your discard, so that you have so your opponent is not gaining points off of you, right? That's the greedy part. But you can also use it against your opponent's card. You usually don't, unless they have a good haunt effect in their discard that you want to get rid of. So it's one of the few ways to sort of get rid of that there. And yeah, I don't think there's much more to say about Lucia here. We got Lucifer. This is the demon of pride. Once one of the highest archangels, Lucifer was the first to fall out of the angelic order. But without saying the S word, this is basically the S guy. But here he's called Lucifer. He's basically the tip-top head demon, and he's a cyber demon. Well, I'm a big fan of Doom, the Doom video game, and I like the idea of the cyber demons. In the story, though, he had faced one of the high archangels and was grievously injured, right? But survived. And there's a movie. Now I'm not gonna say the name of it, but there's a movie that had a line that was the devil speaking actually, and he says that he is responsible for all of the advancements of the 20th century, which is technology. And so that's why that inspired me to make him a cyber demon, right? In his view, technology has corrupted people, made things easier for them, and easier to be manipulated. And so that's why he has technology to supplement his body here, and he's back for revenge. All right, his ability is play. You may ban any card in play. All right, so you get rid of a card, just poof, it's gone from the game. Death. So when he dies, the controller effect that killed this card may return the banned card back to their hand. So this is playing on that trope again of like certain demons give you a deal, but then it can backfire later, and that's what this is. As long as he's in play for you, he got rid of a card, but then as soon as he goes away, they're gonna get that card back. And there is very little way to make this useful on you. I don't think you ever really want to ban one of your own cards, although that's possible. But for you to get your card back, you'd have to kill this as well. Because if you ban one of your own cards and then your opponent kills this, they get your banned card. So you usually don't want to do that. Most of the time you want to use this against your opponent's card. But this guy's quite useful because he's just a very good momentum shift, right? You get to play a card and then remove a card from the opponent. Yes, they can kind of get that momentum back later, but they kind of have to earn it. And really, that's all we got to say about Lucifer there. I am trying to move a little bit quicker here. Metatron here. Legends say that he was a great human prophet who was transformed into an archangel for his faith. So in reading like different biblical lore and stuff like that, there was a prophet, and I actually don't remember his name. Oh, I think I just remembered it, but I don't want to say it because I don't want to get into the religious stuff too much. But basically he was a prophet that was so pious that when he died, he didn't just die, he was elevated to become an angel, and is the only known human that has happened to, and that is Metatron. And Metatron, did I put it in here? No, but if you ever look up Metatron is called the voice of God. So he is by being a human that is also an angel, he's like kind of like the emissary between the celestial beings and humans, and is able to talk to them. And so he's all about he's a protector, he's a good guy, right? He's another warrior angel. And I don't remember exactly why, but we gave him a sort of steampunk mechanical look to him. I think more to sort of ground him down, that he is not a pure angel. He is he was a human, and that's why we're not hiding the eyes here. He was a human, and humans rely on technology, so that's why we did the steampunk armor. And I also wanted a steampunk angel, so there's that. His ability, haunt. So while he's in the discard, so after he dies, right, the character died and became an angel, draw a card or reset a card from your hand. Well, those boil down to information, right? You either drawing a card, gaining more information, or resetting a card, transferring information. That goes with the idea of that he is the voice of God. And enough said. This guy is do not underestimate him. This is one of the few ones that I would say in a game, yeah, you have this guy die early in the game, because the ability to draw a card and reset, particularly the reset, being able to reset an extra time in your turn, is really powerful. And most newer players don't get that, but I'm telling you, resetting is good in this game. It's a way to get to your better cards, the cards you need in the moment, faster, especially when you factor in cards that benefit from being reset, and or ambush cards that were introduced in Shattered Fantasy. This guy is a great complement to them. I really often like to have this guy in my deck and use him for, kill him off as soon as I can, just so I can get that reset ability, because it is quite good. Next we have Michael here. Michael the Vanquisher defeated and banished Lucifer and his rebels from the angelic order into the abyss. So here is the tip top baddest archangel of the celestial order, Michael. He is the top dog angel, and this is the guy that remember we saw Lucifer earlier. He was all battle damage and really effed up. Michael was the one that did that with his flaming sword there, but it was a battle, and that's why he is hurt here. He's got this big crack on his helmet there and on his armor. He fought the biggest, baddest demon that there is, but he survived, and the other one did survive, but with much scarring, or it had to basically be rebuilt. And that ties into his ability here. Play. You may damage any one card twice. If you do, damage this card twice. So basically, as you can see in the picture, he's like down on his knees a little bit, like after a big fight. Like he went all the way, or almost all the way, right? Because he didn't quite kill Lucifer, but he damaged him. But in doing so, he almost killed himself, and that's how his ability works. Damage any one card twice puts it right on the edge of death, but it also is going to be on the edge of death. This is a May ability, so you don't have to do that, but most of the time you want to do it. Most of the time, this will kill a card, because you just wait till the card has one health already, and then use the ability. Boom, it's gone. This card pairs very well with any healing effects. Ooh, yeah. Do damage something and then heal this guy afterwards, and then he'll be strong for fighting for you. Yeah, he's awesome. Now it's funny, this card here was art direction wise, he's a Viking. He's a Viking angel. Is all I really wanted to do, right? Initially I did not want to have this monochrome color scheme, because most of the other angels that we've seen, are colorful, have a lot of details to be seen. And so when Neil gave me this look, this sort of monochrome yellowish look, I wasn't actually happy with it, because his beard is supposed to be a big red beard. And I really wanted it to be bright. I don't remember what the rationale was, but he has a big bright red beard, and you're not really seeing it here with the flame. But Neil explained, I mean, this is the flame sword, not a flame sword. This is like the original flame sword. This thing is so immensely hot and powerful. It's like a sun, and it's got this blinding light, and so in that context it made sense that it's like washing out the colors, because it's so bright, because he is like, the baddest angel with the baddest weapon. And so I love that rationale, and that's the look we have here, and that is Michael. We got Mictane here. This is definitely an original design by Neo Che. This one is not a demon of one of the sins, it's just a demon monster. Mictane the Flesh Flayer is a tormentor demon that tortures souls by slowly stripping the flesh away. And he himself does not have any flesh. And what can I say? Neo just has some crazy creature designs, and I'm so glad that I had him on board for this. I mean, this is just amazing. I don't even know what to say about this guy. And his effect is heal this card. He gets off on tormenting things, so he kills something, he gets happy, he heals. Enough said. He's a good melee guy, so put him up in melee, keep him if you have any effects to buff him so he can kill stuff and then heal, you'll have a wonderful time. But not much lore to this. He was just a cool creature design that Neil had, and I wanted to use it in the game, and we just fashioned everything else around it, and that's Mictane. Mordred Canaan, a sorcerer possessed by a legion of demons. He channels their own evil power against them. This guy is not one of the characters that represents the sins. He is based off of a story, I think in the Bible, of a guy that has like a bunch of demons in him, and then he gets healed. So I wanted to do something like that. This is not that character. that bit was, but it's inspired by it. So he's this ancient like sorcerer actually, from ancient times, that in trying to learn evil dark magics let in demons into his soul, and but he's a powerful dude and has been able to not let them overwhelm him, and in fact he's able to channel their powers, but he tries to use it for good, but it's really hard when you got a mass of demons in you fighting to be let out, and he won't let them. So as you can see in his face there, he's just a constant struggling mess of filled with dark powers, but he actually tries to use this for good. He's overall a good guy, although you wouldn't tell by looking at him, especially meeting him in a dark alley like this. And his ability is ongoing. This card copies the effect text of cards in combat with it until after the combat phase ends. This is similar to Arario that we saw earlier, where this card can be a hit or miss for you. It depends on if the card you're fighting has a good effect that you care about. Otherwise, this will be kind of nothing. And thematically represents that he has a legion of demons in him that manifest different abilities. This card can potentially have different abilities throughout a game. And that's all I gotta say about that. Natalia Dobrinko. Pro fighter Natalia saw the apocalypse as a chance to unleash her full strength without consequence. This is probably my favorite art piece from Fallen Order. Well, as we can see here, she is fighting zombies. Zombies are featured in the set, and I really wanted sort of like a flashy character that is like from the the wrestling shows that you see, that they're over the top, they dress in wild outfits and all that, attention getting outfits. And so that's what she is. So she's basically like I call her a pro fighter, but she's basically like one of those TV percent, but she is actually a very powerful fighter. She's actually extremely strong. She's actually one of the few people that can actually beat Dane Williams. As we've seen earlier, Dane Williams is the champ, but she can beat him, except that they're not allowed to compete because there's a separation. There's men's division and women's division, but she would beat his ass. Let me just tell you that. She is, of the human character, she is the most powerful. She's also kind of a sadistic person. She's not a nice person, and doing like the pro fighting shows, she has to hold back on her strength. Well, here in the apocalypse, she can let it loose because she does enjoy inflicting pain on others and showing off her full strength here. And I remember, among the many things that I wrote to Neil, the artist, in the job description and in the art description, one of the things I put at the very end, I said, for Pose, do what you want. I just want her punching the shit out of some zombies. And I think he just took that literally. Like, she's just smashing them. This is, again, another one of the most gruesome cards, but I love it. It ties into what we've been doing all along. Yes, she is scantily clad, but again, she is like, a TV show performer on those shows. They tend to dress like this. So that's what it inspired off. And what's your ability? Kill. Once per turn, you may damage any card when you kill. So when she kills something, she gets to do an extra damage to something else. And thematically, that's supposed to be like she kills something and then she picks up the corpse and flings it at something else because she's that strong. And yeah, this card also quite powerful. I mean, if you can get kills with this, you can almost get a chain reaction of effects. That's why we limited this to once per turn, because it's quite probable that you have a good chance, if you set it up right, you can get 2 kills in one turn with just this one card. If you use your other cards to kind of help set this up appropriately with some direct damage effects or damage shifting. Yeah, put this girl in the front, keep her alive and support her, and this card can really carry your team. In fact, in the solo playthroughs that I've been doing on YouTube, I think she kind of carried one of my games. Yeah, so that's Natalia Dobrenko. We have Nuri here. As Angel of Nature, she has very little interest in the affairs of humans, demons, or even other angels. So the Angel of Nature, as we can see in the art here, again, we did the sort of visor, but we made it wood. We made like a wood armor. I think there's no metal at all, right? We make sure there was no metal. It's all natural leaves and stuff like that. And yeah, as the Angel of Nature, she actually cares very little for the humans and angels and stripes, so she kind of stays out of it basically. And that has to do with her, excuse me, her ability here, Haunt. So Haunt is, if she's dead, she gets to use this ability. So when she's dead, she's away from the fighting, right? She stays away from the fighting. If you have not and do not attack this turn, heal any card. So basically it's kind of a pacifist card. It's a little bit hard to set this up, but if you do, it can be quite powerful. You can set up a sort of stall slash defensive strategy, and that can win you games. It may not gain you many friends, but that's one thing that you can certainly do, is stock up on cards that damage shift and or heal. And then this is yet another healing card, and it's a healing card that your opponent has very little ways to deal with. So yeah, use this if you want to set up a kind of slower play style where you're trying to outlast the opponent, and yeah, she'll support that strategy very well. She is not one of the virtual angels though, by the way. Nibris here. This one is the Demon Queen of the Swarm, commands a multitude of demonic insects that sting victims to death. So another demon. I wanted to do an insect demon, and I like bees, or you know, I like the idea of bees, a hive, so that's what we went with there. And again, Neo is just so good at creature design, so he very quickly, easily just made that happen there. And what's her ability here is Death. Search your deck for any one card and play it. So this is kind of a momentum card. She doesn't do anything specific in play, but when she dies, you get another card right away. So she preserves your momentum, and it's to sort of represent that she's got a swarm, right? Like you kill her, but there's another already to take her place. And that's as simple as that. We've seen entities that pair well with cards dying and getting effects when they die. So this is one of those. Like Unspeakable Entity, when your cards die, you get to deal damage. Well, this card dies, you get to deal damage and use this ability. So yeah, she pairs well with entities that have any kind of death effects. Next we have Raphael. This is one of the virtual angels, and I can't remember what it was. Raphael keeps watch over the world, guiding mankind through diseases and catastrophes. So Raphael here, is abilities heal all of your cards. This is an angel that we broke the rule about the angel hiding their eyes, although we made it white eyes. And the reason being was that this guy, he cares very much for humans. He is like the top guardian angel, and that's why he has this effect where he heals all your cards. He comes in, heals your cards, but he is not a pacifist. He has a big heavy hammer that he crushes demons with. And so the reason we didn't cover the eyes is that I wanted him to he relates to humans, and humans relate to him because he is a good protector of humans. And really, that's about what we gotta say about that guy. Playing this guy, he's just really good. He heals only your cards. We've seen cards that heal, that we saw one in Vanishing Point, a healing card, but it heals the opponent too. This guy heals only all your cards, but he is a 3 cost that you're putting on the table that your opponent can potentially kill and gain the points. So that's the trade-off there. Otherwise, this guy, yeah, spread damage around and then use this guy to heal yourself up, and yeah, you're well on your way to a good strong victory. So Raziel here. Raziel the Cryptid is the keeper of knowledge and mysteries. He provides guidance when needed most. So kind of like Azrael, here's one of the other dark angels. He's a good guy. Oh, he's got this dark look to him. And Haunt, look at the top card of your deck. You may reset that card or put it back. So he's the angel of knowledge and mysteries, right? He's got this book here, ancient forbidden secrets. We went a little bit opposite with this guy. Instead of covering the eyes, we covered the bottom of the face and just had these sort of piercing blue eyes, because he reads a lot, and this is knowledge that he is imparting. He learned, right? That's why the colors are the same way. He learned some knowledge, and now he's passing that knowledge on. And I believe also the color blue, we tied that because we knew this was gonna be a blue type card, right? Blue type cards are skill. He learned a skill. Yeah, get it. That's that card. All right, his ability is, look at the top card of your deck, you reset that card, put it back. It's giving you information. He does need to be dead. He needs to be in your discard pile, right? He's dead, but kind of thematically, he's away studying, and he's giving you information. Again, just like Metatron, this guy can help with strategies where you want to cycle through your deck. This guy can help you reset cards, although it does have the option of not doing that, if the card that you see is a really good one. So in a way, he can be kind of a step up from Metatron, although, and that's why he's a level 2, because you'd be giving up 2 points for it, but the ability is quite powerful to be able to know what your next card is, and or to support resetting strategies. This guy is quite good. Don't underestimate resetting cards. I'm telling you, it's very good. 7, one of the humans, although not one of the sin humans, or one of the main characters. She's more of a side character. An ex-assassin. She tried a normal life until it was taken away by the apocalypse. Payback time. So the reason she's called 7 is she's a genetically engineered soldier, right? She's like a super soldier, but she was like created. Not just like injected, like she was created from scratch by scientists to be the perfect killer, and that's why she has this is actually not face paint. She has like this pale pallor, what's the word, anyway, pale look to her. She's also got this battle scar there, and she's got these strange orange eyes. But she was basically designed to be a killer, and she did that for many years. She was an assassin until the organization that governed her basically eventually was disbanded, and she no longer needed to be an assassin, was let go, was allowed to go to a it basically was a shadowy organization that was eventually found out, disbanded, and she was allowed to get away from that and go lead a normal life. And she tried to do that, and got married, had a family, had kids, and then the apocalypse happened and they were killed in the apocalypse. And now she's like, it's time to suit back up, because she's kind of a bitter character. The good life didn't work out for her, and now she's gonna exact her anguish on any demon that she can come across. And as you can see by her design, she is a sniper type character, and that ties into her ability. Starts at the start of your turn. If this card is in support position, you may reset it, then damage any card. Reset rules apply. So this card is a little bit difficult to set up, because you got to be able to get in support position and then keep it there for at least one round, right? Because you don't get to do this effect at the start of your turn. But if you can accomplish that, right, so if you can take the time to get set up into your sniper perch and sit there, then you can get a free damage on any card. And if she had damage on her, she's getting reset, so that damage will go away. So a card that's tough to set up this effect, but very rewarding if you can set it up. I don't know what you really pair this with, other than just keep this card alive. I mean, I guess some healing cards will be effective, but you don't want to be wasting healing on this if it's going to reset itself. So if you have cards that switch around cards in play, there's not many of those, but that will help. Other than that, just put more powerful cards in front of her, so she can be back in support position, and you'll be able to do that. She does work well with if you have a deck that can reset a lot, like we saw with Raziel and Metatron. She could potentially be good in that if you can, again, set up this sniper shot, do the shot, and then use your multiple resets to get her back so you can do it again. That would be the way to go. And that is 7. We got Shiva here. In the deepest parts of the abyss, she punishes the sinful not in boiling heat, but with frigid, biting cold. So this one is an angel. It's not a demon, it's an angel. This is an ice angel. I wanted to do a flame angel and an ice angel. This is the ice angel. And she's called Shiva, which is a play on the word shiver. This is all it is. Shiva. I'm shivering. A Shiva. Alright, so she is an ice angel. Reaction: once per turn, you may select an attacking card in this battlefield and give it -1 to all combat rolls until the end of turn. Right? She nerfs one of your opponent's cards, and it's like she's freezing them, slowing them down a little bit, cooling them off. And I like the idea. I wanted to do the idea of blood on ice. I thought would be just a cool idea, and Neil did a great job, with this bloody spear and all that. And really, that's it. This is not one of the main angels, so she doesn't represent one of the virtues. We got Sidriel here, another of this is a more minor angel. It's not one of the virtues, but she is the Seraph of Valor. She effortlessly dances into demon hordes, parrying and slicing them to shreds. So I wanted to do an angel that was like a fencer with a fencing foil, because when I was in high school, I used to be on the fencing team and loved it and have a soft spot for it. So I wanted to do an angel that was a fencing angel, and we came up with Sidriel. Like many of the other angels, she is a angel of battle, so she's got battle armor here with her weapon, and she's got the visor hiding her eyes, and her ability is ambush. This is the only ambush card in this set. I didn't want to put too many ambush cards in the game. Most of them are in the Shattered Fantasy set. This is one of the only other ones that's outside of that. And heal any card that is being attacked. So basically use this as soon as your opponent announces an attack. If your card already has damage, she can heal it. And so yeah, essentially a heal card, and she's good to pair up with any kind of strategy that will let you reset your cards in your deck, so you can get her back and use the effect quite often. Eventually that'll run out, and then you put her out into the field to battle. And as a 3/3, she's very good in any position. So yeah, very good card. I always consider this a pretty high pick in most times, just because it's a reusable heal that potentially you can do quite often. That's Sidriel. We got Vanth here. This is not one of the major demons. The demon spider queen, Vanth prefers to ambush her prey with her webbing over a straight up fight. I wanted to do a spider demon, and I believe again this is another Neil Che's original design. He came up with this kind. We just translated it into the game as a demon. I think for the game he added a few things here from his original design, but yeah, she's basically a spider demon. Play: select an opponent. That opponent cannot put any cards into play on their next turn. So this is straight up a momentum card. You just play this just to keep your opponent from playing anything, and so you're stifling their board state and or potentially stifling some play effects that your opponent may have been planning on doing, and that's about as simple as that. She slows down your opponent, and that represents she's webbing them up. All right, Vipar. Again, another minor demon. She's not one of the sins. She fills victims' minds with crippling sorrow, then seduces them with a sultry end to their misery. So this is basically like the demon of depression. And not to go too far into it, but I am a person that I do suffer from the depression, and I thought it would be interesting to kind of depict a sort of a demon that embodies that, but not physically, just a demon of that. And I just wanted to do a demon that was like a swamp demon, and I think back to the movie The Never Ending Story, where the that traumatic scene where a beloved character sinks down into the muck in the swamp and dies, and that to me was like a perfect metaphor for depression. In fact, I think the movie did too. That's why they did it. So that's why we made her a swamp demon. She's the demon of she's a demon of like depression and sorrow. I didn't want to put depression on the card, I believe. Yeah, I just put sorrow. And we put her in the swamp. So she's a swamp demon, and she's got just sort of like moss, and I think these are supposed to be kind of like Jezebeth. These are like fungal. Actually, no, these are actual tentacles I see here. I don't remember why we did that here. This might have been one of Neil's original designs or design ideas. I think I simply just said I just wanted a swamp demon, and he came up with this. Definitely also wanted to harken back to a character that I love very much, is the Swamp Thing, the Marvel Comics character. I think we were channeling some of that in here. So Vpar, start. If this card is in support position, you may reset it, then heal any card. Reset rules apply. So this is the counterpart to the card we saw earlier, 7, where it takes some setup, but you get a really good payoff. This one is, I consider this not as powerful. Healing one of your cards is not necessarily as powerful as damaging an opponent's card, because your card can get healed but can get re-damaged. If you damage your opponent's card and kill it, they can't heal that, right? So healing is not as powerful as damaging. So that's why this is a level 1 card, and it does take some setup. But the reason I wanted to do that, because even though it's not as good as damaging, repeatable healing can be problematic. So that's why we kind of nerfed it in this way, in that you have to do this setup. But all the same things that I said about 7 apply here. If you can reset this card, if you can set this up and then reset it multiple times, oh boy, your opponent is gonna have a sorrowful time trying to defeat you. And that is Vepar. We got Vidiria Martinez. With the dead coming to life during the apocalypse, she must find her inner strength to survive alone. So this is the character she embodies. She is one of the main characters, and she embodies the sin of laziness. She is a person that sits at homes all day watching TV and playing video games. And although playing video games is not bad, I play video games, but she wastes her time. She doesn't do anything of note, and she's a woman of age. She's not old, but she's like, I believe, like in her 20s here, late 20s. Is I think what we set her at, and yet she still lives at home and relies on her parents to do other things, or she relies on government. She doesn't want to get a job. She relies on government assistance. She doesn't want to do anything for herself. But then the apocalypse happens. Her family does get killed, sadly, and now she must learn to fend for herself. And she realizes that she can do things for herself, and that ties into, well, does it really tie into her ability here? Ongoing. This card cannot be targeted individually by opponent's effects, but entities or multi-target effects can still affect it. So yeah, your opponent can't directly. The only way, mostly the main way your opponent's gonna deal with this is they have to corner her and damage her in combat. You're not gonna be able to do direct damage effects and stuff like that to her. So, but it is important to note that it's individually targeted. So damage shifting can work against her, because when you damage shift, you pick 2 cards, and that's not individual. So yeah, so that's why she's only a level 1, because this is kind of a niche ability. It doesn't come up a super lot, just because otherwise the card isn't that huge of a board presence or a threat to the opponent. So it's just a nice ability attached to a card that mostly you care about its stats here. And that is Vidiria. Alright, Yuk Zhang. Mocked and unappreciated, he risks himself to hack a fortified facility, helping survivors reach safety. One of the main characters, his sin is the sin of gluttony. As we can see that he is a heavy set person that has eaten a lot, or eaten more than he should, but he is a good person, and In the story, he essentially he does a sacrifice play to risk himself getting killed by the zombies in order to hack the defense systems of the fortress made by Lucia Archer that we saw earlier. Remember I said that she was a rich billionaire that made a fortress? Well, he figured out a way to get in, and so he did that, opened the doors, but he had to do it from a location that was away from there, so he had to stay on the outside while the zombies were coming after him, while his friends, the other survivors, I shouldn't say friends, the other survivors escaped to safety, because they didn't really appreciate him. They looked down on him, and again, didn't appreciate him, even though he did something great. He eventually goes on to become a really awesome character and a really good fighter for the team, and that's why we have him as a character here, that he can fight in combat. And what's his ability here? When an opponent's card effect will select one of your cards in play, it must select this card instead, right? That's to represent that he is self-sacrificial. He takes the hit for the team, and that's really it to that. If most of the time that's going to be damage effects, so things that can heal this guy are going to be really good. And I think this might be the last card here. Zachario. Zachario is a celestial guardian who willingly sacrifices his safety for the sake of his cause. Like the other angels, he's got his face covered, or not just his eyes, he's got his whole face covered. Don't honestly remember the rationale for that, other than I know he's not one of the main angels. He was supposed to be more representative of a, one of the sort of foot soldier angels is really what he's supposed to represent. What's his ability here? Play. Remove one damage token from all your cards and place them on this card simultaneously. So he does a mass heal, but he takes all the damage on himself, and that's representative with this armor that he's got. He's got a shield, heavy armor, and this mace. I think that's why we did the helmet. Like, I wanted him to just look like covered head to toe, because he charges into the fray ahead of others, so that he takes the brunt of the damage, although that usually kills him. And that's as simple as the card is. It's gonna, most of the time, you want to set this up so that he takes all the damage from your other cards, and then he potentially dies, but you only lose 1 point versus more on the others. Alternatively, you can set it up so that if you have other healing cards, he takes all the damage from the other cards, but just enough so that he doesn't die, and then you can use other cards to heal him. That could work, but no real deep strategy with this guy. Sorry, I'm like burping today. I'm drinking soda. That is Zachario, and that was it. That was the last card. So this was a long one. I really had a lot to talk about all these characters. There was a lot of work that went into the character designs, the story, the lore, the mechanics, tying them in thematically. It's the set that I'm actually most proud of. I think it's the set that did the most research. The next closest that was as much work was Shattered Fantasy. But in Shattered Fantasy, I had the advantage of that I was still doing multiverse characters, so the characters, each character could be unique to the others, didn't have to fit the theme. It could be kind of its own thing. One character could be steampunk, one character could be medieval, one character could be sci-fi, so they could be different things. In here in Fallen Order, I wanted to from scratch do something that was doing a horror theme, doing angels and demons fighting on Earth, mixed in with a zombie apocalypse, mixed in with badass warriors that slay angels and monstrous beings, and cool ass humans that are stuck in the middle fighting them. And that's Fallen Order, and that's why it is really, it's the most special set to me. I won't say it's my favorite set, but at least art direction wise and story wise, it is my favorite one. It's the most special to me because there was just really so much that went into it, and Neil and I went back and forth on a lot to make these characters come to life. And another thing, comparing this to Shattered Fantasy, is Shattered Fantasy I had the sort of crutch in that we were basing these on known fairy tale characters, so there was a lot of material to draw upon, even though we were reinventing them, making them our own way. And here, this was all from scratch. Yes, there were some inspirations from things, but we still were making some from scratch. And again, I'm just so super proud of it. And I'm super proud of Neil and all the work that he did, because he is amazing. So that is the deep dive for Fallen Order. If you like this, again, the Zero Budget Geek YouTube channel, check it out. It's got more deep dives, playthroughs, overviews of the game, all kinds of stuff. Go there, look up the official Animus card game playlist, and get ready for this and the rest of the game, including the Ultimate Edition, to be available on Halloween of 2024. So guys, that'll be it for now. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you soon.